What's up, YouTube? Hello and welcome to this edition of Parking Lot Thoughts. I'm your host, Charles, and welcome. Welcome back to those subscribers, my jungle lifers. Today I want to talk a little bit about, um, things that people don't talk about, like in dialysis. Dialysis is like it's its own little community, and you have different people in communities, and you definitely have different types of people in the dialysis community. Old, young, hustlers, scholars. There's people from all walks of life in the dialysis community, from judges to police to firemen to housewives to you name it. There's a lot of people in there, young and old. So in my time on dialysis, which was a little over 7 years, um, I watched people uh, die. You know what I mean? That you kind of been in the same boat with for years. I remember there was a young guy, really nice young man. He used to come into the dialysis unit with candy and just pass out the candy to all of the patients in the dialysis. He did it all the time. You know what I mean? He seemed like a really nice guy. It seemed like he was macking on a few women in the dialysis unit. I wasn't sure. It just looked that way from the outside looking in. But he was a nice guy, man, and he wound up dying. And I don't know what the circumstances were, but he just didn't show up anymore. Um, I had another woman who she was into everybody else's business. She was the community busybody, and she was willing to tell her business to anybody who listened. Also, so she wanted you to know her business, and she wanted to know all of yours. And but she was a really nice lady, you know what I mean. And I could see her decline as the years went on. You know what I mean. I remember she lost her car, and she had to start taking a state funded I think it was like some type of bus that picked up dialysis patients and bring them to the unit. So, she was really nice, and she got a cancer diagnosis on top of going to dialysis, and she chose to stop doing both. Once she got the cancer diagnosis, she didn't want to go through any of it anymore. She lost her independence. From what she talked about, she had no support system at home. It was just horrible, and she wound up passing away. Um, and there was another gentleman. He was a retired fire captain. You know, he was on the shift before my shift. So when I would come in, I'd be getting put on the machine, and he'd be being taken off the machine. So um, he got a cancer diagnosis too, and he gave up on everything. He said, "I don't even want to. I'm not trying to go through chemotherapy, and I'm not trying to go through dialysis anymore. I've had enough." Which was it was scary for me. It was scary for me to see people, like two people, rather be dead than to go through chemo and dialysis treatment. It was scary for me because you know being a retired firefighter, and we inhale a lot of toxic fumes and smoke and byproducts of burning materials. You know what I mean? So it was on my mind, like, what if I got cancer? That decision would fall directly in front of me. You know what I mean? And I thought about it. I mean, I never got diagnosed with cancer, thank God. But it was hard watching these people, that you get to know. And I had a childhood friend. Him and I, when we were kids, rode dirt bikes together. Um, his younger brother and I were a little more close than him and I, but he was in the same dialysis unit as I, and he wound up passing away. He was about my age, and it's just something hard to witness as you're going through the same treatment as they are. But I kept my faith, man, and here I am. Here I am, man, just trying to be my own best advocate for my health care, and to listen to my doctors and make sure what they're saying to me is best for me. I know that sounds weird. They're doctors and I'm not, but sometimes you just know. Sometimes you just know. But yeah, that's basically what I wanted to talk about today. I was kind of thinking about, those guys and girls in the dialysis unit that had passed away.